Are we live? Let's see. Okay, I think we're live. Hello, Rebels.
Hello.
I'm Halima, and this is Kiona from the Rebel Business School. And today we wanted to talk to you guys about content creation when it comes to Facebook and Instagram. This is a topic that I'm always asked to talk about, especially when I do social media day during the 2-week courses. So today we wanted to talk to you about the process that we recommend. I'm going to talk about all the different areas to help you kind of have a sort of plan when it comes to content creation. By the end of this, Kiona and I were going to basically look at some of your Instagram profiles. So if you want us to like kind of give you feedback, put the link of your Instagram. So make sure you write Instagram. So www.instagram.com/ the name of your Instagram page. And the reason why that's important is because it's clickable and we'll be able to actually like just click and go to your Instagram page and give you feedback on the content that you're creating and what you can do better and what you're doing really well in. So if you're just joining now, or even if you're joining later and watching the replay, let us know in the chat what your business is about, how you use social media, or just put a link to your social media so that we can all follow each other, I guess. All right, so I've got a list of things. Kiona, do you want to add anything? No?
Not yet.
Okay, awesome. I want to actually see who's saying what. Let's see. I'm trying to see where the chat is. I guess here, right?
Yeah.
So make sure you write something, guys, so I know that you guys are there and you're watching. We're not talking to ourselves. Okay, awesome. So first things first, I wanted to talk about how do you basically generate content ideas, like specifically for your industry, right? So the first thing is, like I call it mining, which is just basically all the different ways that I've put together content that my target audience actually wants to hear from me. Like, I mean, actually know and understand and learn. Hi, Montrese. Good to see you here. Finally saw a little comment, so I know that it works. So yeah, what kind of content does your target audience actually want from you, rather than just kind of coming out of like coming up with like ideas on your own? So actually hearing from the horse's mouth. So I have a few ways, and then maybe Fiona afterwards you can like share like your like method, because she's the social media manager of Rebel. So if you have any questions, send her a little message on Instagram, and I'm sure she will help.
Reply, yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so number one for me is I like to make sure that I have like an Excel sheet for content, which means like anytime I get an idea, whether it's I'm reading a book or I'm talking to an ideal student or participants, or like you learn something in a course and you get an idea, write it down in this Excel sheet. And this Excel sheet, you're always going to come back to, update, and help you. Like basically, it's going to help you create the content that you need for your social media channels. Are you with me so far? Like, is everybody cool? All right, so I'm going to show you my like tricks. The first things first is YouTube, believe it or not. So the first thing, I'm going to try and share my screen. I think I was supposed to use Zoom for this. I went straight into the Facebook live, completely forgot. So the system is completely new. Trying to see how I can share my screen. And if I can, in fact, share my screen. Stream. Okay. I guess It doesn't allow you to share your screen once you go live. Right, cool. So I'm going to do a very good job at describing exactly what I want you guys to do. So since our workshops are all about getting you guys to actually take action instead of just listening to the ideas, I want you to do what I tell you now. So open up YouTube. So go to YouTube and search for something that's within your industry, right? So say I type in English learning or cakes, making cakes. What I tend to do is like find videos related to my industry, and then what I'll do is I'll go in the comments and I'll just start like listening to what people are saying. So for example, if people are complaining like, oh, I love this, but you didn't mention this part, and I really need like this being like explained, and so I'm like, take that part and write it down. So you can, that's how I get started, is just using social media as a listening tool rather than just going there and creating. So you can use social media to just listen. So going into Facebook groups, inside what's it called, YouTube. So that's number one, YouTube. Number two is I wrote Amazon, which is another hack, which is super cool. So you find like books related to the industry that you're I don't know if you've done that before.
No, I haven't.
No? Okay, so you go to Facebook, Amazon, find a specific book. Say, for example, it's sewing or it's a specific topic related to your industry. Go to the comment section. What I like to do is not go to the number 5, ratings that are 5, because they don't share like actual insight.
Yeah.
People that tend to give 3 or 4, they tend to like share the actual truth about the book and what they thought. Take the time to read those comments. What they'll tell you is what the book is really great at and what it's lacking. And when you see what it's lacking in that topic, that's when you can start creating content around it, because then it's like, okay, no one's providing that information.
Yeah.
So then it's like, oh, okay, take that and put it in your Excel sheet. You can do that now. Go on your Amazon account, find, so Montrese, you're on here. I'll use you as an example. So Montrese has like products to do with hair. Like she so for what's it called, black hair, so curly hair, she has products that are natural that helps maintain hair, and yeah, so that's her products. So one thing she could do is find products that are already available and see what her target audience are already saying about these products, and then address those issues on social media.
That's actually a brilliant idea. I never thought about it.
Really?
Yeah,
yeah, that's like one of my, like, I guess, like, I don't want to say hacks, but it's like that's how like I get to understand my like ideal people. Like it helps you with marketing, helps you with like address issues that like nobody else is addressing, because yes, this product is amazing, but it's lacking in this and this, right? Like, and you're only going to get that from real people.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ways, is to use Amazon. The next thing is asking your audience, right? And I want you to say a little bit about that, because you do that on social media, right?
Like, for example, so we basically teach small businesses about like sales and marketing and different various topics. So what I did like last time was I wanted to know whether our audience were more interested in the sales part or whether they were interested in the marketing part. So I put up a poll on Instagram where you can choose, like I've put marketing and sales, and I've let the audience choose what they wanted to hear about or what the next post would be.
Yeah.
And most of them chose marketing because everyone is scared of sales. So that's how I came to know our audience is more interested in knowing about marketing.
That's super interesting. And like with that, they feel involved as well in the process. Yeah. Is that so? You just created a poll. Is there any other time where you just said, what topics would you like to know? Put it in the okay. Can you talk to us about that and how you like?
It's just like basically you just have to ask your audience questions, and based on the questions that you ask, the answers you receive, you would probably like create content based on the answers that you get from your audience.
I love that. Yeah, so she just gave you 2 ways that you can do that. So the first way is to polls. So I would suggest like polls comes after you ask them questions. So first it's like more general, what would you like to know? And then from what everybody says, it's like, okay, everybody's saying sales and marketing. Let's see what you really want, and creating a poll where it's like, which one would you like to hear about first? So I think that's a really, really great way to understand your audience. Keep checking in, seeing what they do. One of the other ways I've done, which I would recommend other people do, is go live and just have like a piece of paper and a pen. And I just say to them, I say, hey, like, tell me what you want me to teach. And it's really fun because I'll just be in like with my coffee and I'll just, write down what they say. I'm like, I'm just going to give you guys 15 to 20 minutes. Tell me what you want to hear about, and I'll write it down. So I walked away with like a long list of just topics. I want to know the difference between this and this. What is the grammar point that like this grammar thing, or how do I learn English? Like, so there were so many topics. I just sat down in front of them and asked them all these questions. So I think that's another way you can do, especially if you have a bigger audience, just asking people about like what what they want. The second thing, thanks for taking notes, Munchies. So the next thing is kind of linked to that, where it's more specific. And I've done this a lot, where say it's someone in your audience that's already bought from you, or that's already attended, say for us it's the Rebel Business School, and getting them on a Zoom call and saying, what kind of problems are you having with your business? What kinds of topics would you like to know more about?
Okay. Is it like one-to-ones?
One-to-one.
Okay.
But it has to be someone who's already bought from you, or is an ideal student that's absolutely interested in your products and services. They're the ones you should be listening to, because they're the ones who are like going to give you the best kind of insight when it comes to their struggles, what they need, and so on. Say, for example, it's someone that doesn't really care about business, doesn't really care about learning about business, then you wouldn't want to have a conversation with them. Same with if you were selling chocolates and the person absolutely hates chocolates and you're sitting there asking them questions, it just doesn't make sense to get the right kind of content. Do you want to add anything on that?
Yes, I just got another idea is you could even use your customer good reviews as a content idea.
Okay, so please tell us more about that.
So you could like, if your customer gives a good review, you could like just screenshot it and put it on the post and share that with your audience. In that way, you're also building your brand and building your thing.
Sorry?
Like you're building your... I'm not getting the word right now.
That's cool.
Like,
you mean, what's it called? As in proof of concept?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
like, I get what you mean. Like you're showcasing your products and so on. That's cool. So that's kind of, the first part is like basically just to, how do you find the content to create? Now, there's also a different category. So that's like literally like a really great start. So once you have that, like, and you keep adding to your Excel sheet, put that aside. Now I'm going to show you something a bit more generic, things that are a bit more like, I call it fillers, right? Fillers meaning, what is an example of a filler? Like, so I guess like sushi, the rice is the filler, like, but the rest is like the good stuff. So if you have the different ingredients, that's the part that we spoke about. Now we're talking about the rice part, which is like making, like just filling your content and having things to say all the time. Now, I wanted to like specifically talk about April for you guys. So one of the filler ideas is to have special days, right? Now, with special days, we have special days each month. So there's 2 types of special days. We have the first special day, which is like just a more generic burger day or something like that. But then we have, what I've noticed is businesses all over, like they tend to have at least one thing they're celebrating each month, which is crazy to me. Use that as a way to promote and market your content. Literally every single month, there's something everybody's
Something you're doing,
celebrating,
yes.
right? The other day, I got like IKEA sent me an email saying, "Get ready for Ramadan," and I'm like, "What? Like, why does IKEA know about Ramadan? What's going on?" And I've never clicked on an email faster than I did with IKEA talking about Ramadan. And I clicked on it and I saw like products, like dates holders, like things for the table. And I was like, what? Like, that's insane. So it's, kind of knowing what your ideal customer would love to know about, what they're celebrating, and incorporating that into like your selling. So I'm going to leave it to Kiona. What are some of the dates in April that our audience should know about and should maybe incorporate into their content for April?
Okay, so there are a few of them. One of them being on 2nd of April, we have the World Autism Awareness Day.
Okay.
And then we have on the 8th of April, we have World Health Day.
Okay.
So it could be like having content based on like, what healthy foods you need to eat, or like what exercises you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Going back
anything related to health.
Exactly. Like going back to One Trees, your products, like, maybe it's eating foods for healthy hair,
Yeah.
just kind of but what I say to people is like these days, although like there's so many of them, there's loads,
Yes.
right? Try to find ones that are like, it matches either your personality or your business, rather than just kind of generically like posting whatever. So there's other ones as well
Like
that are
for
really cool.
Easter, like
Easter's
could-
coming up. Okay.
so they could like have like offers and discounts for their products on Easter and like gifts like that. And also on 21st of April, we have Get to Know Your Customer Day.
Okay, that's perfect for
Yeah.
content. Like finding out what content that they
Exactly.
want as well. It's like, what would you like? So that's a really great, I think, idea on that day to just put a post out and saying, let me get to know you. Maybe you want to do polls where you're like, do you prefer this or that? Or do you like coffee or tea? Things to get them engaged and just to get to
Yeah.
know what they like and what they don't like. I hope everybody's with me. Are you with me? Is everything cool? Like, let me know in the chat if you're so far like finding this content that we're sharing valuable. I think we're like what I want to do after this part is like to create like some sort of content idea, PDF sort of thing. I'll probably add it to this live. But let's move on to the next part of this, which is actually creating the idea, like the content. So creating, content that, so you have the ideas, you have it in one place, you keep adding to it, you understand your customer. Now it's time to actually create the stuff that people will see. And so I'll ask you about your take in a bit, Kiona, but my thing is, I like to keep things simple, focus on the value that you're giving your customer, forget about complicated design. The simpler your design, the more effective it is. Actually, the best designs in the world are the simplest ones. So focus on simplicity and like bringing like the value. So remember the actual post, the picture, it has like its main goal is to stop the person and think, I'm interested to know more. So then, although I took like actually creating the Instagram post, the pictures are important, my take is where you want to keep their attention and give more detail is in the actual caption.
Yeah.
In the detail, like the storytelling, like getting them to think a little bit in terms of that content. So people do it in different ways. They do it through carousels, so where you're telling a story as they're sliding, or in the caption, you're telling a story about what it is that you want them to know, learn, do, and so on. Remember to put the call to action in the caption if you want them to do certain things, to know more information, to check out your website, to buy something. So always have something at the end that gets them to take action. Remember to keep it simple. So kind of summarizing that on my point is simple is better. Focus on getting your copywriting, the writing really, really good, so that like people walk away feeling like they understand what it is that you're talking about, and they get value from each and every individual content that you provide, rather than having millions of content just out there. So kind of quality versus quantity aspect. Do you want to add anything to that, Kiana?
I think everything you said seemed really like nice. And one thing I would say is not to like overcomplicate the picture. Like when sometimes you tend to put more text on the picture. So as you just said, like have the text in the comment section, so it's easy, and not to have the image too complex.
Yeah, overcrowded with lots of images, and so keeping the design really simple, straightforward. What I would do is like also make the text on the actual like post big enough for people to be able to see, even when it's small and on the grid. That's something that is so important, because if someone else, let's say someone's checking your profile and they want to see other content, it should be easy for them to find on Instagram, for example, or even anywhere else on Facebook. They should be able to find the content that they're looking for. So that piece is there. What was the... Okay, so the next part is that I want to talk about is the actual creating of the content and scheduling. So batching and scheduling the content. So let's talk about batching. Why is batching important, and what is batching?
So batching is basically having all your ideas in, like, for example, you have your ideas on Excel, and like you create, basically you just like create content in groups.
Yes.
So you don't have to like create a content, and like it's batching basically like saves a lot of time, and you can focus in other aspects in your business. So it's much easier when you like create content together, rather than like individually creating content every day.
Yeah, 100%. So it's actually scientifically proven that when we focus on similar tasks, we actually tend to do a lot better. So it's important that you do similar tasks together in one go, because we're using one area of the brain and we're not shifting from here to there. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go do selling, then I'm going to do content creation, then idea generation. It's all using different areas of your brain. And so by focusing on one specific like task, it's actually easier to produce the content. So with batching, I think my advice would be to allocate 1 hour a week where you just create content back to back, like all the different areas you want to focus on, and then schedule it out in advance, because I think it doesn't work for everyone. Not everyone is able to like sit there and content create like that. So this might not be suitable for everyone. Give it a try and see if it works for you, if it's something that you find useful. So create content. One thing that's helped me is finding other people that are interested in doing a similar thing, like wanting to content create together. Like, so go on Zoom and say we're both going to do social media content, put an hour on the clock every week. So you have that accountability, create the content, and then use a scheduling system to put out content in advance. Actually, there's one thing that I forgot to mention.
And I think We Create Content is on Canva.
Yes.
So let them know about like how Canva is, and it's like a free tool where you can create content, and there's like free templates available, so they can use it for their business.
Yeah, exactly. I actually, like the beginning, I was like, Kiana, you need to use Canva. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It's so easy. For if you did social media with me or Laura or anyone else, we mentioned that during the course that Canva is one of the best ways. It also has its own scheduling system, which that's how I schedule and batch things in advance. I do use Canva to what's it called? Schedule things in advance. But for forgot what I was going to mention. So one of the things you can start thinking about when you do batch content is creating series. So for example, you want to just target like a specific topic. Let's say it's social media or marketing. You do like 6 different posts all together, tackling every area when it comes to that specific topic. So if it's, I don't know, how cocoa is produced, then you can maybe talk about the history, how it was created, how it's produced now, based like versus in the past. But you're just tackling one specific topic and going from one to the other. You're like, okay, I'm going to create a series of that. Or you want to say, oh, okay, it's quotes. I'm going to, focus on a specific type of quote for the next 6 weeks, and then create all of that. So whatever it is, it's like you either have categories like, oh, I want to, increase engagement this week. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to create content focused on increasing engagement.
For Rebel, we have something called Motivational Mondays.
Yes.
So every Monday we post like a motivational quote or a motivational video. So that's like one example.
Oh, that's great. Exactly. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. So having categories or series or topics that allows you to just keep like the batching process simple. So you're like, okay, I'm going to stick to this one content and share all the different things I know about it. Just remember that when you are sharing content, like you can't, I feel like you can never be like, oh, I'm sharing too much. Just think about all you want to do is provide value, provide like people walk away feeling really great about what you've shared. Because for me, I don't know about you or anybody else is listening, when I feel like the person's created content that has immediately helped me, the first thing I think about is I want to work with that person in any capacity, whether it's collaboration or pay them for their time or even just be besties with them. But it gives me that drive to want to take the next step. So when it comes to like, you're creating the content, just remember you're there to give value, focus on quality rather than just creating something for the sake of creating it. Does that make sense? Montree says, great job, ladies. Love that what you've shared so far. Very helpful. Thank you for watching, Montree. I hope you found it. You can take steps to actually do it. So the last part I want to talk about is actually getting people to take action. So we spoke about different things, and I don't want you just to sit there and just be like, okay, I'm just going to listen, and then I'm not going to like take action. The whole point of the workshop is for you to follow the steps and actually start doing the things that we've mentioned. So number 1 being generating all the different types of topic, putting it in one place, one document that you can keep coming back to. So that's step 1. Let me just see what the steps I gave everybody. So step 1, using YouTube, Amazon, your audience to build all the different topics and keeping it in one place. Once you know what your audience wants, the filler topics, things like special days, categories, things that you might think, oh, this might be helpful for my audience to know. And then creating content that's simple, focusing on the actual caption, talking to your audience, improving your copywriting skills, and then scheduling tool. Yeah. I forgot to mention scheduling. So we were just talking about
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook Manager. So if you type in onto Google, Facebook Manager, you can schedule posts, stories on Instagram and Facebook. So you can use that tool to basically schedule things in advance. And no, it doesn't take away from your engagement. It's a myth. Facebook created it so, you know, that you can schedule things out in advance, so you're not overwhelming yourself. So use the tool to start, you know, scheduling things in advance.
Once you've batched the content, like make sure you schedule them after that. So you don't have to like every day post things. You can like schedule them in advance.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip, because I tend to just create. I'm very good at creating, but I never post things. So, you know, as soon as you're done, like she said, post it in advance, put it into a scheduling system, and then be done with it. And every week, if you do that, you'll be way ahead of, like, you know, all of your social media stuff. It's like, okay, I'm gonna get one person, an accountability person, sit with them, create the content, schedule it within that hour, and within that hour, whatever's done is done. Move on and focus on what on the other part, right? Which is once the person comments, taking that conversation and actually, you know, moving it on to building the relationships and getting those sales, because that's the whole point of all of this, right? Is to get the sales. So don't neglect that aspect of it. It's like once they comment, once they reach out or message you, moving on that conversation, building the trust. Because as we talk about in the course, don't just post and run, post and stick around and have those conversations. Anything else you want to add, Kiana? You sure? Yeah. Well, also awesome, guys. We hope that you found this helpful. Let us know what you thought in the chat, in the comment section. Yeah, and we'll download this and post it onto the Rebel Plus web page so you can watch the replay. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.